Hey, my name is Ralph and I'm with Flexfilm, and in this video we're going to talk about what makes the perfect slip solution. If you want to tint the perfect window, the first step is your slip solution. You better get it right. If you don't get it right, you're going to fail at trying to tint the perfect window. So we're going to talk about the characteristics of a perfect slip solution and what you want it to do, what you need it to do. We're going to talk about the variables, what influences a slip solution. In this video, we're going to get to the bottom of this and we're going to see what we got to do to tint that perfect window. Okay, there's a lot of information to go over. I've taken some notes, and we're going to break these little steps that you need to consider just one by one. And here we go. The first step I'm going to tackle is the characteristics of our slip solution. What do we want it to do? And the first characteristic I want to address is the freedom of slip. Everybody knows we want the film to slide. If we put too much slip solution in our bottle, we're going to get too much slip. Okay. If you get too much slip, you're opening the door for a lot of problems. Some of the obvious problems that you'll see with that is a lot of excessive finger bubbles. You'll see peanut little finger bubbles that come off the defroster lines and from the bottom of windows and from the side of back windows. They're just everywhere. And they've been compromised with something slippery and the glue's not doing its job and you got extra work. And that's a problem. Another issue is peeling. There's a lot of us that have actually tinted cars. They look good, and we roll them outside, and next thing you know, film starts peeling off the matrix areas or off the glass in different areas. And we probably use too much slip solution. There could be some other issues as well, but definitely you put too much slip solution in, the film may not bond rapid enough to start the bonding process. So when there's a quick evaporation of your slip solution after you roll it outside, it starts to peel because it's never started the bonding process. Too much slip solution. We also get a lot of sliding, and that can cause these big gaps at the top of windows when you roll them up, or it can actually just shift. When you're trying to, it depends on your installation technique, but anytime a window film shifts after you assume that it's not supposed to shift anymore, could create a problem or a gap. Or when we evacuate the solution and the slip solution mixture is just right, the film bonds. At least it bonds enough to where it won't move. And if we put too much slip solution in, we lose that initial bonding process. We're still getting a movement there, and it creates problems. Last but not least, this is probably a little more technical than I meant to get, but too much slip solution can over a long period of time compromise the adhesive and possibly cause premature film failures. When you mix a slip solution with the glue and it dries there, and the question is it going to create a bonding issue later on down the road from excessive exposure to the sun, which may lead to a premature film failure? Research and studies shows that it will. And we don't know if your slip solution or this one or that one contributes to it any more than the next one, but it does happen. If you get your slip solution balanced correctly, you can avoid that problem altogether. Okay, so now if you don't put enough slip solution in your bottle, that opens the door for another set of problems. Some of the most common problems are the inability to move the film. If you want to put the film on the glass and then you want to move the glass or the tint around and it starts to stick right then and there, you can't move it. If you have to pick the film up and re-wet and put it back, you've started introducing contamination. Your gaps aren't going to be as even as they should be, if your tint's sticking to the glass. And if your tint sticks to the glass in little areas, you'll have these little adhesive pops. There'll be little white dots because a little part of the film, the adhesive started bonding prematurely in that one spot. And when you have to hit the film to move it, it goes pop, and then you got that little white spot. Everywhere the glue started sticking, you got these little white marks. There's so many complications without enough slip solution that begin a premature bonding of the adhesive, which will work against you by putting the brakes on and causing these little adhesive pops and things like that. We also are going to see trapped air. If you put the film on somehow and you've got it moved around like you want and you're ready to start squeegeeing, sometimes without enough slip solution, you may push air through an area that you've already squeegeed, and that would cause little bits of air to hang up into the glue that's already beginning the bonding process, and you're going to get little streaks, little white marks. it's going to kind of look like you might have some contamination, but it's just little pockets of air trapped, and you start pushing them through already bonding adhesive, and it starts making little white streaks. That's a clear sign that that you need more slip solution, because your glue's sticking too soon and you're pushing air through it and it's just not working. And it's confusing to a lot of beginner window tinters what that is and why their film's got these little strange marks in it. It also contributes to creases. If you're trying to get the film to relax on the glass and you push down on something that normally would not crease because it's got slip and it should move and spread out, but it's already locked down, and you force that, you're going to crease it, because your tint doesn't need to stick at that point that aggressively, and that's where you're going to just mow over something and cause a crease. That's another possibility there. And so I guess this is obvious, but you do need some friction control or some lubricant. Any slide. You've got the film on here, and you want to respray it again with your slip solution. If it's almost like a watery consistent, you sometimes need a little bit of surfactant or something in there to really move the squeegee across the hard coating on the film. And if you don't, you're gonna be pushing, and it's gonna be grabbing, and it's gonna be pushing and moving the film and cause creases. Believe it or not, when you have more friction on your hard coat, no matter if you're using a hard card or a squeegee, you've increased the possibility of scratching the film. More friction equals more opportunity for scratching. If you make it slip, then you can avoid scratching the film with more lubrication. So there's another reason why you need that proper balance of slip solution, even in the squeegeeing process on the outside of the film. Okay, another characteristic that we're looking for is we want a smooth evacuation of slip solution with whatever squeegee that we're using. And what I mean by that is we want to squeegee all the remaining solution out from under the film, and we don't want any water pockets left behind. We want the film to look almost perfectly dry when we're done squeegeeing it. Because if you have a slip solution mixture that's maybe it is the wrong choice of slip solution, maybe it's reacting to the glue, or maybe it doesn't really allow you to push all the moisture out from under the film, and so therefore you get these water pockets. These water pockets they're going to do two things. They're going to annoy the customer. They're going to come back and tell you there's bubbles in their film. And you're going to freak out and panic, and you're going to see there's water pockets, and then everybody's going to say, "Oh, those will dry out." Well, that's just a nuisance you can avoid. If you make the right choice of slip solution, it doesn't matter if it's slippery or not slippery. The right choice of slip solution can contribute to that problem. The wrong type of solution, no matter how hard you push, you're still going to be left with little circles of blistering looking water pockets. They will go away, but you just want to avoid the uncertainty that the customer may have, and they may challenge you. No, those aren't going to go away. Just avoid the problem in picking the right slip solution. We'll go over that in a minute. We also have to consider that if we leave small water pockets behind and you're in a colder climate, those water pockets can freeze. If those water pockets ever freeze, you're going to really prolong the curing process, and you're really going to increase your problems with the customer. I mean, we're talking about sometimes after 30 days here, the customer's like, "Hey, I know you said these are going to dry out, but they're not drying out." So if you choose the right slip solution and you're able to hard tool or evacuate the solution properly, and you can get rid of the water pocket dilemma, then you can avoid all these problems. And that's contributed to usually the slip solution that you've chosen and how you evacuate the solution. And that's what a perfect slip solution, that's one of the characteristics that we're looking for. Okay, one of the most crucial roles that the perfect slip solution will play is how we control our window film. We know we need slip. We want to put it on. We want to move patterns around. We want to make sure everything evacuates properly. We don't want water pockets. But what we also want to do is when we're ready for the brakes to come on, we need a solution that'll deliver. You see, the glue's sticky, and so we want to push all the water out that we can and solution. And once that's out and we put enough pressure on this, we want that glue to start sticking. Because see, now there's a time we need slip, and there's a time we don't need slip. And if you mix the right solution, you mixed it properly, the right ratio, and chosen the right water, things like that, you're going to be able to push with pressure. This is a pressure sensitive adhesive, so now we need it to be sensitive to the pressure that we're putting on it by evacuating the slip solution, and we need it to stick. Once we need it to stick, after we squeegee it, we shouldn't be able to continue to move it. If you can still move it, your slip solution is not right. If we push the water out and then it begins to start locking down, that's what we want. That's what we want in a perfect slip solution. Because we know when we roll the window up, the tint's not going to slide. We know there's not going to be any shifting. We want it to slip when we need it to slip, but we want to put the brakes on when we're ready for the brakes to go on. And if you are inside of that or on either side of that, then it's not right. You got to tweak it and get it right. So a perfect slip solution needs to give us brakes. And the brakes is when the film sticks, and that's going to start sticking everywhere. It's going to reduce the fingers. It's going to reduce the drying time. It's going to be clear. There's no pockets in it. We need brakes, and that's what will give us the perfect slip solution when we see that. Okay, the next phase in making our perfect slip solution is understanding and recognizing the variables, okay? These are things you can't exactly control. You have to be aware of the variables and be able to adjust for the variables to make that perfect slip solution. Let's start off with the first variable that I think is relevant. Let's just go with adhesive technology. This is not a video about different adhesive technologies, but in our automotive window film side of things in the USA, we're seeing pressure sensitive adhesive. To me, the adhesive, after you pull the release liner off, is very similar to fly paper. It's really sticky. And so we've got to put a slip solution on that, and we've got to put it on the glass to simply reduce the friction, keep the bonding process from happening, to move the film around. Okay, so there's not all window films have the same exact pressure sensitive adhesive. Some of them have a real thin and sticky type adhesive, like you find on most domestic window films. They're the ones that you find in our country with the popular brands. They're usually about 3.5 micrometers in thickness, and they're very, very sticky. Okay, once you recognize that type of technology, then you're going to probably need a little more slip solution to manage how slippery that needs to be for you to get the characteristics that you're looking for. If you have a technology that's considered a low-tack, quick-release technology, those adhesives are usually 7 to 8 micrometers in thickness on the average. The films feel a little more heavy and rubbery, but they can be a really, really effective adhesive. But if you try to put too much slip on that, you may find using that particular film could be unfavorable. So you have to typically back off the slip solution formula to equalize with the lower tack technology, so that you can get that adhesive to react during the install like you would the other one, and vice versa. You've just got to make adjustments if you run across a different adhesive technology, and you got to be aware of the different technologies. Then I want to just talk about a quick third one. We're definitely dealing with some flat glass films, and they have a dry style adhesive. They're a dry tack adhesive, and you can pull the release liner off the back of those, and you can touch it, and it doesn't feel like there's any glue on it at all. There actually is, of course. Basically, I want to be superficial about this. It's not a detailed video about how that adhesive is made, but it's got a top coat on it, which is like a barrier between the actual glue that's going to make it stick to the glass, and it's going to make it seem to be dry and non-tacky. And to make a long story short, it just makes it easier for these flat glass guys to put these larger pieces of film on flat glass using this style of adhesive technology. There hasn't necessarily been a proven advantage of that technology, and it's supposed to last longer. It is what it is. But we've got to make a slip solution for it, and we want our slip solution to be perfect, so we have to be aware of that technology, and what do we got to do to make our slip solution fit that? What's going to be perfect? Well, a lot of times you're seeing a lot of these manufacturers recommend sort of an acidic type solution, because it's going to eat the top coat off of it quicker and begin that little PS adhesive that's underneath it, which is real thin and sticky. It's going to begin to start sticking when it needs to be stuck. But in the installation of the film, that top coat is going to facilitate that premature bonding, which you would want a slip solution to facilitate and help with anyway. It's going to, it's just going to be a chemical reaction. It's going to stop eating the top coat away. A more acidic slip solution eats it away faster. A regular, like an automotive style slip solution that we would use with something like baby shampoo or a dish soap, is going to take longer for that top coat to go away and give you a longer window, before it begins to bond. But anyway, eventually the top coat wears away, eats away, chemically goes away, and adhesion, becomes, eventually the bonding process takes effect. So I'm not going to make the video about that adhesive, and how you need to mix slip solutions for that, but, you just have to be aware there's a third type of adhesive. It's a dry adhesive. And there's two types of pressure sensitive adhesives that we're seeing in the USA market. One's a super thin aggressive and another one's a thicker, less aggressive. And again, adjustments are necessary to give you a pleasurable experience, with your install. And so therefore, I guess one slip solution is not going to work, with everything, all films and all conditions. That's why we're talking about variables, which leads me into the next variable. Climate and temperature, okay? These are very important because when you feel like you've got that perfect slip solution, you've identified the film technology, the adhesive technology, you've got to be aware of the climate. Like I'm in a building right now, okay? I've got the air conditioner on, I have little humidity. I could get that perfect mix to tint this window. But if I take this window outside, the temperature goes up 15, 20, 30 degrees. And there's humidity is now introduced into the equation. The temperature goes up. Now my PS adhesive is going to bond quicker. I've got to compensate for that. So now I've got to probably mix my slip solution, more concentrated, and I've got to make some changes. And I got to be aware of the climate because the climate is going to be cold in some places. It's going to be tropical in some places. It's going to be dry in some places. You just got to be aware of the climate. Know how to make your slip solution to favor that climate and understand that temperature influences the bonding of our adhesive. The higher the temperature, the quicker it bonds. And you've got to resist that or counteract that with your slip solution in order to install the film properly. Simple as that. Water conditions. You see, a lot of people don't give this a lot of thought, okay? We can go to our tap and we can get what comes out of our tap. And if we're, say, around the Gulf Coast region in the United States, I can specifically cite that Gulfport, Mississippi is one troubled area that I'm familiar with. The water there won't even rinse the soap off my body when I'm taking a shower. And of course, how am I going to clean with it if it won't take anything off my body or washing a car? How can I expect it to take anything off this piece of glass? There's a lot of mineral content in some water. Some water conditions are very hard or some are very soft. And some are just really, really ideal. Sometimes they come from a public system, where they have the right balance of everything, even they're chlorinated, and I mean, they're just really good waters to use. We can always revert to distilled water. Distilled water is sort of like, but before I'm going to try to go to somebody's town and figure out what their water is, if they're having water-related problems, I'm just going to go to Walmart and buy some distilled water, mix my slip solutions, considering all the variables, considering the characteristics that I want, and then we're going to see if I can eliminate the problems, with the distilled water. If I can, then we'll reverse engineer what may be happening with the water situation and then try to figure out what to do or what not to do. So water conditions are very important. People in the mountains, people in coastal regions typically can have like kind of water that's challenged. It's usually saturated with minerals. It's not on a molecular level. Our slip solutions, aren't being carried away when we're pushing them out and they're lingering behind. They're compromising our glue. They're keeping the film from doing what it's supposed to do. It's failing prematurely. Water conditions are extremely important, and you've got to be aware of the water conditions to make that perfect slip solution. Prepping. Prepping is very important, and there are considerations one would make in how they're going to mix their slip solution based on prepping. Listen, you've got people that tint really fast. Maybe they're working at dealerships. They're preloading. They don't really care about a lot of the steps that we would care about if we were maybe owning our own business and charging more money and having to deal with the problems, okay? It depends on the film that we're using. But prepping is important because prepping is going to influence how you mix your slip solution. If you don't really clean the glass very well, and what I mean by that, let's say you choose to use your diluted baby shampoo solution or dish soap solution to clean. You're not going to clean the glass as well. There's some scientific issues with that, and it has a lot to do with surface tension cleaners. I can briefly go over this. I'm not going to try to make the video about this, but water has a lot of surface tension. That's why it beads up on the hood of a car that's been waxed. Alcohol has low surface tension, so it won't beat up on the hood of a car when it's been waxed because it's a lot to do with the molecules and the charges and the downward force. Now, all I'm trying to tell you about the surface tension is a product like alcohol will seep into the pores of the glass. If you mix it with the proper surfactants, you can really get a deep clean in the glass that a water-based product with surfactants like our diluted slip solution won't penetrate the pores of the glass. So based on how you prep the glass, the surface of the glass is going to receive the adhesive technology that we're using to install the film. If we've really done a good job prepping and we've got the right slip solution, we can get the film to bond quicker the way we want to in a perfect fashion. If we don't clean the glass very well, we may find ourselves using a thinner, stickier glue to overcompensate for the lack of prep to get it to stick like we want. But again, the question is, how long is it going to last, and what are the long-term effects by not cleaning thoroughly and things like that. There's all kinds of things that we do as tenders to adapt to make our jobs easier. But there are a series of steps, and there are prepping techniques, and those will influence how you install, what films you choose, and how long your installation can possibly last. And, it is real. This is a science. This is not my opinion. I'm not going to tell you that you're doing something right or you're doing something wrong. I'm just here to inspire and inform. And you can see what I'm presenting to you, and you can make your own decisions how you want to do this. But prepping is very important. Whether you prep really thoroughly or you don't prep at all, there is an influence on how your slip solution is going to be mixed. And we are trying to get to the bottom of what is a perfect slip solution. So, what is the perfect slip solution? Okay, there may not be a perfect answer for this question, because we have to look at what the characteristics are that we want our slip solution to deliver to us. And then we have to look at all the variables that influence how we decide to mix our slip solution. We all use different films. We all have different techniques. And because of all these differences, even our water conditions, and there's so many variables here that would influence what we have to do. That's why if I'm a top loader and you're a bottom loader and you're using this film, maybe it's got a pressure sensitive adhesive. I'm using one with a low tack quick release technology. That's why what works for me may not work for you. I mean, we can even throw in temperatures and climates, and it's overwhelming. You've just got to understand what's in front of you, and you've got to understand the characteristics that's necessary for this slip solution to be perfect for your outcome, and mix it, make it happen, experiment. Just consider everything in this video to make that perfect slip solution. I hope this has helped you.